Hey there, this is Christine Landl, and I am with my sister, my best friend, my business partner, Jennifer Ream, and we are so excited to be here on yet again another platform that we are creating and another chapter, another piece to our journey.
The Well Podcast. This is Jennifer Ream. So excited to be here with you guys. Our intention for this podcast is all about sharing our love for all things wellness, holistic wellness that is. And we are here to uplift, plant some seeds, and support you on your wellness journey. We've always loved being able to be out there with our community, sharing all the things that we learn. And as we grow and learn new things, we love to put them out there, and maybe they'll plant some seeds for you and help you along your journey. So here we are. Let's get started.
Hey, welcome back. So today we're happy to have a new subject to talk about that we haven't talked about in a while, I feel like.
I think we've only touched on it like in little bits throughout the whole, like all of our episodes, but
yeah. So just it'll be a fun topic and one that was suggested, and but I feel like something that we talk about a lot, and amongst women, I would say, when we're all together sitting around or just chatting, and so it's really all about living in your personal truth while balancing your relationship, specifically with your partner or your spouse. And it's I
think more so as we're into our age too, because you see it more so as you grow and become more mature and get into your 40s and you've changed and
life experiences.
Yes. So we've all witnessed divorce, changes in relationships, at this point now.
Yeah. And I think that for those of us that live our life on a personal growth journey and aware of that, it's something that is constantly in our face and constantly that we're being presented with in challenging moments. And because if you're just living in a status quo situation and you're not setting forth in this life to really experience personal growth or evolving as a soul, then you're just kind of, I think, going through the motions of what you think a relationship is supposed to look like and what the external world tells you what your relationship is supposed to look like and feel like all the time in this blissful adventure together.
Yeah.
But when I feel like most of our community that's listening to this and many of the people that we interact with are here on earth living in this body for evolving and personal growth reasons. And to do that in a relationship with someone else who may or may not be doing that also, or who may not be at the same pace or can present a lot of challenges along the way. So I would say personally for me, it has been an up and down cycle. I've been married for almost 20 years, been with my husband for about 25. And so, all of those moments, the roller coaster ride of that relationship, there's been many moments of being on the same page and many, many of not being on the same page too. And so it can lead to expectations of the other person, which we know expectations equals suffering most of the time. And so putting our own stuff onto that other person, there's so much that we can unpack with this.
There is. And where my mind is going right now is, one, it was a guy who suggested this topic, which I love. And I think for a lot of women, we're just more vocal about personal growth, where a lot of men feel the desire and the drive more and more now for personal growth, but may not talk about it as much.
Or not sure how to do it.
They won't talk about it with each other, probably. So they kind of, fortunately, I think that's the one good thing about social media and podcasts out there. There are amazing males doing some amazing podcasts on this stuff all the time. So we have access to people who are sharing their stories and their journeys and their evolution of growth. But I think what you said is key. If you don't have the awareness even that you're here in Earth School to evolve. Like if you don't have that basic underlying awareness, then that's where you should start. Like with the understanding of you're not here by accident. You came here by choice. You have somewhat of a foundational plan of what you wanted to learn and grow from. This is Earth School for you, and this is why you came. So when you understand that, you can kind of like take a deep breath and kind of just chill. Like don't take it so seriously. Like this is one of many journeys here, and yes, we want to learn and evolve, but we don't need to put so much pressure on ourselves. And then the second thing that came to mind while you were talking was that the other person in the relationship that you're doing this journey with is always reflecting back to you what you might need to work on. So we always are like projecting or like feeling like triggers from the other person, thinking they need to change, they need to do this. But in all reality, it's always about me reflecting on why is that triggering me and what do I need to learn from this experience with that person. So, and I think that is like never ending. It's an ongoing thing because you're always working through your shit. So,
and knowing the difference between that though too, knowing the difference between when somebody is triggering your stuff, your insecurities, your traumas, all of those things. And when you need to stand up for yourself and stay in your power and know this is my truth. And
well, yeah, because
there's a big difference.
Your trigger can be from your past emotional trauma from a past life or as a child where you didn't understand you were being violated, or you were wounded in some way, but you didn't know at that point how to handle that. So as those things come up as an adult, you actually have to stand up and have boundaries, and where that is no longer going to work for you. Like, I can't have that kind of like relationship where I'm not being heard or where I feel like I can't speak my truth. So it's like that constant dance back and forth of growing with somebody, watching them and understanding that you each have to grow in your own ways. And this is a point that I really wanted to hit on. The fact that I feel like and as a culture, and I don't really want to stereotype it where it comes from, just the fact that we feel like we can't grow and change, like we want to hold the other person back because it's scary because they're changing. And I have felt this way many times because I'm, like always learning and growing and changing. And have had major monumental changes in my life with that. And so I think that it's scary when the other partner sees the person continuing to change and do things differently and see perspectives differently. And then they're like, whoa, like, what does this mean? Are we not on the same page anymore? Like, and so it's this constant, like, you have to be willing to communicate and speak your truth and give the other person space to evolve and honor that and love them for that. And sometimes that means you stay on the journey together because it works, and sometimes it doesn't, and that's okay too. Because we are constantly like thinking that you're going to be on the journey with one person, and that's just not the reality.
Not always.
No.
But I think too that it comes down to what types of expectations and pressures that we're putting on that person too, and a lot of times we have this preconceived notion that person is supposed to be fulfilling something for us and is supposed to be, it's this crutch almost. If you look at it, it's this codependency. It's this person is there to fulfill these things. And so when it comes down to, like we said, expectations and evolving and changing, I always think about, oh my gosh, Bobby will like throw in my face and be funny. He's being funny, but he's like, oh, you've changed. Oh, you don't want to do that anymore? You've changed. And I'm like, I hope so. I hope I've changed. I've come here to change. And that is one of the things for me that I feel like I've had to come to a realization that And I think this happens for many of us who want to change somebody. And no offense to our parents at all, but I do feel like my mom's tried to spend 22 years trying to change our dad and came to the realization after that that's never going to happen. And so we can't ever change somebody. And so that's why you always have to focus on your own personal growth. And when you are projecting your insecurities and projecting your traumas and triggers onto the other person, you're not turning inward at all. You're really just, again, focusing on that person trying to fulfill something for you. So for me, it was like when I came to this realization that if you want someone else to hop on board and to change with you, and I don't mean that in like, again, trying to change someone, but if you want to have a personal growth experience with your partner, you really have to just emulate it and lead by example and do all of the things that are working for you, and then hope that they find that for themselves in some way. But they have to do it for themselves too. I mean, I'm always sending Bobby or even my kids podcasts and listen to this and listen to that, because in my mind I'm like, oh, they need this. Oh, they need this. Oh, they need this. And then a lot of times I'm like, oh, actually I need this. I'm the one who needs this message. I need to listen to this. And so I think that it's just, it's really like this bouncy ball of back and forth ping pong, like knowing the difference and knowing when it's you that needs to do the focus and when it's your partner that you need to give space to, or it's really just, I feel like, again, like an up and down roller coaster of awareness of what that looks like.
Yeah. And I think I learned the lesson the biggest with understanding it's somebody's own journey that, you got to let them have their journey. Mm-hmm. It doesn't matter if it's your kid or your spouse, but when my kids transitioned from teenage to young adults like they are now, and when they went off to school, Jackson went off to school, that's when I learned the lesson the most with it's their own journey. Mm-hmm. You got to let them have their own journey. They got to figure it out for themselves in their own way. And you kind of learn that lesson really hard when you hit that point with your children. But when you sit back and reflect on that with your spouse or your partner, it definitely is a little different in the sense that our kids are going off. So we do have to cut the cord and let them go mm-hmm. and be and do. But when it's your partner, you're trying to maintain this, hopefully lifelong relationship while still letting them be who they are. And everybody is different in what they need. And that's the dance of learning what your partner, what they need and what they need space with. Mm-hmm. And everybody's different with that. So and you're only going to know that as a couple when you know that about yourself. So it's always going to be coming back to like, well, I kind of feel like this is what I need right now. Like, I just need a little more space to myself. And it's not like, no offense to you. I just need a little mm-hmm. space, and that's okay. Like, mm-hmm. that's just the way it is. For me right now, that's my honest truth. Or it's like, hey, I feel like we're kind of disconnected. Like, let's make a point to like go do something that we both love to do or mm-hmm. spend some time together or whatever. But if you're listening to this and you're thinking like, or you're in a situation where you feel like your happiness depends on the other person, then that's codependency. And there are amazing books and resources out there or podcasts or YouTubes that you should like listen to on codependency, because that is where things can get ugly and where people feel smothered or people feel like they can't be who they are. Mm-hmm. So, and I think you see a lot of codependency in relationships, but it's not even like, there's no awareness of that. Like, that's just how they were raised, or they saw that's how their parents were, or that's how their mom was, or whatever it is. So they've kind of adapted those same traits. Yeah. But I think it can get, like, that's one thing though that you really, I feel like, have to take seriously to have a healthy relationship, because codependency can get can get nasty.
And it can feel heavy. It's a heavy energy. Yeah. And I think that it just, what I constantly keep coming back to is like having expectations of the other person to fulfill something for you. I feel like you have to have the awareness around that and the balance of it. You're holding space for the other person is really why you're here. You have you know, how you obviously are attracted to that person and you have chemistry and you have a deep unconditional love for your spouse or your partner, but you're here to hold space for them and you can do it together in such an unconditionally loving way. And so that is one of the things that I have come to realize myself through my own work, even just this past 2 years, watching, I would say, my husband going through a very stressful time in his life, probably the most stressed I've ever seen him. And I'm wanting to fix it for him. And then at the same time, parts of him needing me to fulfill this role for him to keep him grounded and to keep him centered. And it's like, okay, I cannot be all of this for you. Like, you've got to do the work. And he's not doing the work. And there's just no, like, I'm just kind of explaining the differences to what that looks like, and him having expectations on me and my expectations for him to do the work. So my aha moments around it just in the past few months was like, just hold space for him with boundaries and know when I need space from it. And so I've been trying to be more of an active listener and listening and just only suggesting when I'm being asked for suggestions and advice and those sorts of things. But it's through that process now, I'm watching him step into his own truth and what he needs and connecting mind, body, soul, purpose, all of it. And it's like, it's kind of a beautiful transition to watch him go through. It's also awesome for our relationship to kind of evolve in that way too.
Because if you didn't have the boundaries, then you would just continue to be a crutch. And then the other person doesn't have to step into what they're being initiated into in their next like soul evolution. Like, this is a huge pivotal moment in his life, huge transition and learning and growth moment. And so if somebody's being a crutch for them or not allowing them to fully step into that, then they wouldn't fully be able to experience or transition into what he's supposed to do next.
Right. And I think that one of the best ways that you can be there for that other person besides listening is to just plant seeds as you feel intuitively, that you need to. So it's planting seeds and just letting them know that they're, encouraging them. And so I feel like it's just, I would say for me, being with Bobby as long as I have, we have been on different soul journeys all the entire time. He's lives for a long time, lives with the external world controlling things for him. And for me, it's been the internal world. And that's been a struggle. It's been really hard to not be on the same page, but it has been my awareness in the past few months even. Like, it's been huge growth for me and huge growth for him. And I would say for our relationship in general, just to be accepting of where he's at and his journey, and that we're not on the same trajectory of where we are. And that doesn't mean it's not good or bad. It just is.
Yeah. And it's your spiritual evolution, and everybody's is unique. So it can never be the same. It will never be the same. Like, the fact that you still have this love connection that keeps the bond there is the biggest thing. And that you foster that.
That's key. Yeah. You have to foster that. You have
to foster
because
that.
You could also be on, if we weren't aware, or if I wasn't even aware, like, if I can see how that would be, you could, for lack of better terms, not fall out of love, but you would lose that connection so much so that you don't get it back. And I remember him kind of feeling that way when we started Vibe Well. Like, he was just like, but he didn't know how to handle it then, feeling like he was on the back burner and wasn't getting the attention and the priority. And so it was, he understands now. It's a different, whole different story, but he understands now what that's like to do a startup and the kind of pressure that puts on you. But it takes knowing that, it takes life experiences. But I mean, gosh, if there's one thing it's just having the awareness around everybody. Like your partner is on their own journey, and you're here to hold space for them, and vice versa. And to be able to do that together is pretty awesome. And you do have to go out of your way, like we were just saying, whether it's a date night or a weekend away, to reconnect. But it's important to reconnect at that spiritual soul level too, not just go to dinner and talk about work. Like you really have to connect and see from the other person.
When you are witnessing, because we're going to see it more and more, because we are evolving, humanity is evolving, and people are waking up to the fact that this is they're on a spiritual journey. And so the more people that do wake up to that, the more these conversations are even more important in a relationship. But even if you're not there and your spouse is, talking about this, at least be open-minded, and at least be willing to listen, and be willing to, actively listen and engage to the best of your ability, or be willing to learn or listen to their perspective, even if it's different than yours, because just because it's different or you don't have any knowledge of it doesn't mean it's not true. So, I think that's important too for a lot of couples, because of where we're at with humanity and how we're shifting. More and more people are going to be shifting and changing and seeing things differently.
Yeah, and I think one of the ways to connect in that way is asking each other open-ended questions without judgment. And so you have to go into those conversations not with your walls up, not with your ready to fight with if they say something that's triggering to you. Like you literally just have to have like this, okay, this is going to be a no judgment zone. And ask open-ended questions. Like, what do you need right now? Or, if it is about work or what your stress level or whatever, like, well, what are you thinking will be best for you? Not like, this is what you should do. This is what's best for you. So I feel like those are great ways to connect, is just asking, almost like we do when we're working with a client, is just asking those open-ended questions about, not how you can fix it or how you can fulfill it, but what that person's actually going to do to grow in that moment.
Yeah. And I think lastly, I would want to say that, there's a lot of pressure that we have to be with one person for our whole lives. And that's not always the case. Like there are sometimes that you're with somebody for a season, and I'm not talking about marriage. I'm talking about relationships in general. Like people come and go,
friendships.
Like things change. So it's always like, okay, well, there was a season in my life where I needed that person, or I needed to learn from that person, or they planted a nugget for me in some way, or vice versa, or I was able to be there, and to not be so attached when things change and you evolve. And that's just, like, it's okay. Like you can, foster the relationship, but people change, and sometimes your paths go in different directions. And
if there's one thing that I feel like I have learned in the past couple of years, and it has been completely my outlook on life, like let go of what you think your future is going to look like. Have goals, of course, and find like the blissful moments and the joyful moments, but it's take the picture out of there of what it should and is supposed to look like, and just let it be. As long as we're living in the moment and connecting with joy and focusing on personal growth and holding that space for ourselves, you will then in turn be able to hold that space for the other person that you're with, and things will evolve as they should, as long as you're staying in alignment, flowing downstream, and connecting with your intuition every single day. Set your intentions, connect with your intuition, and follow those little breadcrumbs and those little nuggets and the little nudges that you're getting in the moment, every single day. The rest will just fall into place the whole time. Your relationship, the people.
Finding you're in a really traumatic time in your life where there's a lot of really heavy stuff, know that you're at that. I always think of it like, okay, you're looking at a Google map and there's like a knot. Like there's a big spot where you could go this way, this way, this way. And it's like that. Okay, you're at that point. It's not good or it's not bad or good. It just is.
And free will choice.
It's a moment of choice. And it's a moment of like, okay, inner reflection. What do I need? Like what is happening right now, and why am I experiencing this? And it's not bad or good. Let that go. Even if it's like, a really big, heavy thing, like, okay, breathe it out. And what am I being called to next? Like, what if my life's going to look completely different if I go this direction? Okay, what if? What if you didn't do it? Think about all the different, the paths you can take, and be courageous in stepping forward in a new path and, following your heart.
And I think it's important to say you don't have to do it alone. So you don't have to use your partner or your spouse to be the person for you all the time too. For in these moments when you are going through a pivotal moment in your relationship, find your BFF, find your favorite therapist, like talk these things out and work these things out. Jen and I work through this with our clients and our friends on a regular basis. So it is important that in these big life-changing moments, which I feel like we're all in right now and will be for a while, to lean on your tribe and to work these things out without losing your mind in the process.
Mm-hmm. But what it always comes back to in conclusion is just honoring your own truth. And you won't know what your truth is unless you're really slowing down and being and taking the time to have some inner reflection. Mm-hmm. That's just the truth of it.
It will come to you.
It will be cloudy. You will be cloudy if you're trying to distract yourself with busyness. So,
or allowing other things to fulfill what truly your soul needs. Mm-hmm. So it is the turning inward and the being still and the listening to your inner voice and God's voice that will lead the way.
Absolutely.
We could go on this for a while, I feel like.
Yeah.
So reach out to us if you need any support. We're always here. drinkjuice@vibewell.com is the best place to get a hold of Jen and I together. Follow us on Instagram.
Yeah, and by the time this is coming out, there might be, we have some things
up the pipe.
Coming down the pipe that will be able to be more supportive to our community. So stay tuned to our social media for that.
All right. Lots of love to all of you. Hang in there if you're in one of these pivotal moments, and just know that you're not alone.
Yep, and this too shall pass.
That's right. Bye.
Bye. Thanks again, friends, for joining us today on our latest podcast episode. We love sharing this with you, so please share the love if you feel called to all your friends and family.
And don't forget to hit the subscribe button if you don't want to miss out on what we're going to talk about next. It's always so juicy.
And of course, you can find us on social, Instagram, Vibe Well Lifestyle, and Vibe Well on Facebook. Love y'all.
And if you're in town, make sure you stop by and see us at Vibe Well too.
Yeah, we would love to see your cute face.
See you soon.
Bye.